there everybody, and welcome back to my drawing of Kim Jonghyun from SHINee. I do apologize for my pronunciation of his name. The HYU is still a newer sound, and I know it can come out more like a yong or a young. There's no G in his name, so really I shouldn't be adding the NG, but you know, whatever. Still learning Korean. It's all good. So anyway, progressing with the video here. Unfortunately, the angle is quite extreme, and that's because I still didn't have a proper setup. This is actually probably the first time I've used my drawing table because I need a reference picture to do most of my drawings, and as I didn't have any way other than my small phone to actually have a reference picture, it was easier to just draw at my desk at the computer. But I bought a laptop a few months ago, and it works quite well on the little side table I have connected to my art table. That's why you'll see me disappear for a little bit. I was, again, this is from a Facebook Live stream, so I was just checking comments and checking to make sure that it was still filming and streaming properly. So you can see that I'm just continuing on with the shading, especially around the eyes this session, if I remember correctly. A lot of the drawing consists of layering, so it's not a case of just putting down graphite once with a dark pencil and hoping that that's the shade you want. You usually go from lighter to darker with different types of hardness of lead. So I can't even tell you what kind of lead I was using. I can't even see on the pencil. Probably an H of some sort, and then my favorite black pencil that's probably an F. I don't usually use anything in the B range. I'm trying to do that with the dark spots here, but it's always hard to go back if you've messed up because you've used too dark of a pencil. So that's why I say, like, you usually have to go from a harder lead to a softer lead, because you don't want to start off too hard and then you're unable to erase it and there's still going to be the marking on the paper, or you've pushed so hard that now not only is the marking still visible, but the actual indentation will cause issues when trying to do another shade. So I've started working on the hair again. Sorry that my fist is so close to the camera. Again, the setup wasn't that great. The biggest part now is just getting that hair done, and that's why I haven't done another video after this, is because it's so difficult for me to do hair, and I get so frustrated and lost that I just give up for months at a time, usually. You can kind of see to the top right there, I did start on his forehead, and there was the issue I was talking about in the last video where the water droplets kind of started looking like pimples. So I have begun a shading process there, and then using the kneaded eraser, I dab out the parts I want, and then with some kind of white pigmented marker device or gel pen, or I still haven't used charcoal, but I'm going to try that, just to lighten it up so that it looks like a water drop. If you did see the reference picture, you'd think it was pimples too when you actually look at it. But yeah, so just working on the hair. The reason hair is so frustrating is because you have to do line by line. It's not as simple as just using a broad shader like my paintbrush. It's helpful for getting a base color down. I might even go back and darken everything already, because in the picture he actually has dark brown to almost black, and I was trying to keep it lighter to show the shine of water, but I might actually go back and darken everything. I'm not sure why I have such a big problem doing every single hair, because when I draw anime, I do a style that's kind of similar to the artist for Death Note, where it's more of a little realistic style for the hair. So I usually draw big portions and then do lines within those big portions to show hair. So I am doing line by line, and I don't find a problem with it when I'm doing anime, but when I'm doing realisms, it's just so frustrating. And I think maybe, thinking about it now, it could be because with the anime hair, there's no flyaways. There's no layers that are going in different ways. You usually have a pretty linear structure with anime hair, whereas with real hair, it's kind of all over the place. You have to show underneath, like I have in the left up above his ear. You can see the darker holes that still have a little bit of lines within it to show that he has more layers than just the top one. So just talking about it now, I think that's the thing. It's with hair, you have to have it, like, it's still going one way, but you still have to show all the different ways it's going to make it go that one way. Whereas when I do anime, it's not that difficult. So here I'm using the, I said tissue paper last time. I meant like Kleenex or facial tissue, not actual tissue paper. Just using it to get a really broad, darker shading than the paintbrush, because it doesn't matter how hard you press with the paintbrush, it's still going to be the same. Whereas, like I was saying last time with your finger, you think you're doing the same strength and you're really not. So it's kind of the same when you're using facial tissue. Your finger is still in there, so it's still causing differences in strength. It's just a little bit easier to get that linear shading done. Especially for the forehead, like I was saying in the reference picture, it's a lot darker than the rest. I don't know if it's because of the spiked hair casting a shadow, but I do need it to get darker and darker to get the lighter portions of the beading on his forehead or the muscles in his eyebrow to show the scowl. I need it a lot darker to be able to highlight and show off those highlights. Just going on to the eyebrows, adding the whiteness at the tips in order to show wetness. It's a process of going over and over and over. I probably do like 3 or 4 layers of the gel pen and the marker just to get the whiteness I want. And even then, I might even do it another few times when I go back to it, because I think that while I'm working, even though I have that paper underneath my fist, it's still smudging a little bit. So I really, really want it to pop, and I don't know, maybe it's not the white I need. Maybe it's more of an ivory or an eggshell instead of bright white. I don't know. Maybe I gotta go to Michael's and check out their selection of white pens. But it seems to be working so far. I'm thinking even with the face shading, I might go back again and add it more highlighting to darken it, just so that the highlights can really pop. You can kind of see at this angle, it's harder to see at this angle, but the eyebrows are really coming into focus now. Like, it's really shaped. It's not just a random bunch of shading. I was able to darken within to show individual hairs, and then with the white on top, it's really accentuating the fact that yes, that's an eyebrow and not just random shading. Here I am working on the beads I was talking about. Probably not the best idea to go in with a marker when I haven't even fleshed it all out yet, but maybe, I don't know, the process I'm taking is kind of like just getting it really dark, going in with the kneaded eraser to make it the bead, going in with the marker to really accentuate the highlight, and then going over again with the paintbrush in order to still get it shaded, but it's standing out enough from the rest of the shade. Not sure yet how it's going to work, but now that I've already placed the ink to paper, it's next to impossible to get it off. So hopefully it'll be the way I want it to be. I remember specifically this session really not wanting to go back to that hair. So you can see I'm just fixing up all the different areas that I think need fixing. Again, accentuating all the whites that need to be really bright to really stand out. Coming off of his nose, there's a little bit of a streak of white to show that there was water that fell down his face. It's not actual water, it was just a little bit different in the picture, but I'm making it a lot brighter to show. Just going in again with one of the B pencils, probably a 7B at this point. That's like one of the really soft leads and it's really thick. I'm glad that the shadowing did not need that precision, because being able to sharpen it to the point I need would have been next to impossible. Like I have a electronic pencil sharpener and it snaps everything So maybe I need to invest in a handheld, but I just find that everything snaps so much in there, especially a softer lead. So probably good thing it doesn't need that precision. Yeah, so you can see I'm fiddling around because I really don't want to do that hair. Unfortunately, I just need the top of the hair and I'm done. Like, this is so close to being finished, and I need to really just suck it up and get it done. Yeah, but you can see I'm starting to flesh out all the little holes in the, I don't even know how to say it, like holes, I guess is the only way I can think about it, is just that section I was working on. You need to be able to see the layers underneath, and I find something that's really difficult to achieve is frizzing of hair at the ends. It's not split ends, but it's still a little bit of frizz that your hair has most of the time. It's kind of like a flyaway, but not really. Flyaways are really difficult because you need that negative space, and that's where the kneaded eraser comes in handy. But I find that a lot of the time when I'm watching other artists, they use the kneaded eraser and they get that perfect flyaway, and then I do, and it takes off like half the crap I just did. So I don't know what they're doing differently, but I still love my kneaded eraser. It's still a huge help. Great addition to any artist's workstation. I find that when it comes to hair, I start scribbling and making my own crap up. At this point, I think I even stopped really looking at the reference picture and just started filling things in because I just don't want to work on it anymore. The shading is getting really difficult near the ends because you need the negative space to show the frizz in the end, but you still need to be able to show that there's shading and there's a shadow from them. And I'm finding that difficult to achieve. And I really don't know what direction to take with it. I think I'm gonna increase the shading near where I'm right now, and then use the kneaded eraser and any gel pens or whatsoever to get that bright look that I need. But looking back on it now, that makes sense, but doing it, I'm like, this is never gonna work. You can just see me cleaning up my borders a little bit, especially because I'm going to be done with this area soon. I just don't want to have to go back with it. I did get some paint on there, which is why I know that it's not going to come off. Yeah, at this point, it's pretty much the end of my session. This one was about 55 minutes on Facebook. But yeah, I appreciate everyone who watched, and thanks for joining me.